Um, how did, in particular, how did being in corrections almost your entire life, how did that affect your family?
Well, it did. And before I was married, um, I would I was working on the Western Slope, you know, at this facility, and I was a captain out there at the time. And when we had holidays or days off, and if I had staff that worked for me that had family, I would always cover their shifts for them, which said that wouldn't go back to my family for Christmas or Thanksgiving or Easter or anything, because I had a very close family. And they were, my folks were very understanding, with the exception of they'd always say, "We always knew you'd end up in prison somehow." But so that took away a little bit of time from me. After I was married and I was at the headquarters level, either with classification, special operations unit, or up in the higher levels of division directors. Um, it was a 24/7 constant issue with me in my mind. Um, when we would take a vacation, whether it be 2 weeks or a couple of days, I was always on that phone, or back in the day had that pager going on. Um, Always worried that something was going on, and so I drank a lot. And back in those days, I was smoking cigarettes like crazy too.
Mm.
Never smoked in the house, always smoked in the garage. But it got to the point that um, my wife said, "You've had a relationship with the bottle longer than you have with me. If you choose to stay with that bottle, I understand." And, and I was drinking almost a fifth of vodka a night. And I'd listen to talk radio and solve all the problems in the world, but I was always away from my family. And when I was with them at night, I was toasted,
Hmm.
and so that created a lot of problems, a lot of problems. Um, I chose to get away from the bottle,
Hmm.
obviously,
Yeah.
and 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 that was it was a struggle for a while. It was a struggle for a while, but yeah, I was that's one of the problems that I've had since I've been retired is I was always a government worker. I never knew learned mechanics or any, woodworking or anything. And so that's one of the issues now. But yeah, it impacted my family a lot. I mean, I was always on the guard. I still am on the guard more than anything. Never sat with my, back to the open door. I still don't. Um, make sure that everybody's got their bailout bags on them on a daily basis, and I never let my family fly in flip flops or anything like that in case there's a plane crash and there's burning plastic or hot wires, and it's just shit that
Yeah,
yeah.
so that kind of goes with the last question I always ask, which is, I mean, I've got to imagine you're dealing with, I don't want to say the worst of the worst, but you're dealing with the dregs of society every single day.
Hmm.
How did that over time affect the way that you see people and see people in society?
Well, I keep my friends close and colleagues and family, and I put very little trust in other people. And my wife says, "Don't let the old man in," as the song goes.
Hmm.
And but I just what's what has developed in me, whether it be back in Nebraska or just that whole evolution of dealing with attorneys, dealing with people in the legislature, dealing with other staff members, are dealing with the criminal element. Yeah,
Has it gotten any better as time's gone by?
not really. Uh-uh.
How do
I mean,
you?
I'm not going to go out, shoot anybody.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go.
No, I get that. But if you, well, let me ask you this: for the Department of Corrections, did they offer you any mental health,
Yeah,
EAP, stuff like that?
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And actually in Nebraska they did too.
Mm-hmm.
I had an incident back then where um, back right after I first started, I had a neighbor in an apartment building shoot and kill his wife. And then he ran down the hall at 2:23 in the morning, still remember that, knocked on the door and said, come help me, I've just killed my wife. And he was trying to get me to go down to his apartment and then he was going to kill me and tell Lincoln PD that, he caught me and his wife together. And with that, Kenny Liggett was the psychologist back then, and it was the first thing as I walked in the door, the warden said, you got to go have a little visit,
Mm.
and which I did, and that was a long time ago. And then in Colorado too, I mean, we had with the SORT team, we had a mental health worker, a psychologist attached to the team, and then they have other first responder type of units that go out to the prisons and talk to people if they have had an incident, which doesn't happen very often, but every once in a while it does.
Did they? Was there any mandatory stuff that you had to go to, or it was all voluntary?
Yeah, it's voluntary.
So,
Yeah.
did you ever take advantage of any of that?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
What
yeah.
did it help?
Oh, absolutely. It helped me with my drinking and smoking cigarettes. Yeah,
Okay.
and but as far as my dealing and non-trust with, it
Yeah.
just kind of absorbed it.